I like Haas to get his paws on Curtis and drop him or force him down and just hammer out a W. I did not mean for that to rhyme, but that sounded awesome. Clip it. Hello and welcome to Monkey Knife Fights UFC 268 show. Folks, I'm Connor Rowntree, joined today by AJ Schullo. AJ, MMA betting, the best in the business. AJ, before we get into UFC 268, what a quick turnaround from UFC 267. Just 1 week in between the two pay-per-view events, massive cards. But before we talk about 68, what happened? What were your big takeaways from 267?
Yeah, we saw some violence, that's for sure, at UFC 267, and I'll leave it at that. It was on the prelims, and it was all the way up until the main card. Glover Teixeira, the champion, the first time that Jan Blachowicz is the favorite in the past few years. He loses. Glover becomes pulls off the Cinderella story, in his 40s, becomes champion of the UFC. It's a beautiful thing to see. And Glover was the only underdog on the card to win. The Chaw cleaned up very nicely. Piotr Jan put on a very good fight with Corey Sandhagen. Sandhagen has nothing to be ashamed about. I thought he made a good account of himself. And then Islam Makhachev, man, he ran through Dan Hooker, and that should show that Islam is a potential future champion of this weight class. We've had some other great performances, including Chimaev and Ankalaev as well. Those guys could be future champions. So, yeah, this card had a lot of bright prospects, and I'm excited to see them shine through for years to come.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway is the names that you just said. Well, Chimaev is technically fighting out of Sweden. It was really a Dagestani showcase on UFC 267, and man, oh man, did they come out with flying colors. You got Ankalaev landing the heavy punches. You got Makhachev with the takedown in the finish. Yeah, the way he went through Dan Hooker was absolutely incredible. But moving over now, we've got another pretty stacked card to take a look at here on Monkey Knife Fight, getting everything started with the welterweight championship of the world. It is a rematch. It's Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington. Now, we were talking about before we came on air, and I'll be the one to say it. It is egregious that Colby Covington is a 3-1 underdog. I know that he got knocked out, but I just went back and scored those fights literally not an hour ago before coming on air. I watched that fight back, and I was Colby won the first round clean. You can make an argument that he won the second round. I personally think he did because he landed the better shots. He lost the third round, won the fourth round. So I had 3-1 Covington going in. We looked at the judges' scorecards. One of the judges had Covington up. One of the judges had a tie. One of the judges had Usman up. Fifth round, obviously, a lot happened. I think Kamaru would have won either way. Like, he had the two knockdowns, even if Colby would have survived. But now you get 2 years off. Colby's coming off a dominant performance against Tyron Woodley. He's going to be fresh. Kamaru Usman is kept busy, beating up on, I'd say, in my opinion, inferior opponents, which could inflate his ego a bit. I think this is going to be an awesome fight. Both these guys average over 15 minutes of octagon time per fight. Both of them landed over 120 significant strikes on each other in the first meeting. Well over that. Yeah, folks, whatever the line is, I'm liking more and more here because these guys incite violence and truly bring out the worst in each other.
Yeah, I think this will surprise you, but I'm actually going to go with less on the Usman side. He's currently projected at 157.5 over on Monkey Knife Fight. I know that he landed more than that in the first fight, and we could probably expect this fight to be contested at range again, so we don't have to worry about too many clinch strikes, ground strikes. They're both such good wrestlers. I expect them to maybe nullify each other to some extent. And we probably get a range striking fight. I'm kind of being bold on the under here. I took the projection that I normally do. I take significant strikes divided by the accuracy, and then I multiply it by the opponent's undefended significant strikes, and I actually get a quite comfortably less amount for Usman, and actually get a bit more for Colby. So I'm going to go with less on Usman and more on Colby. In terms of your analysis of the matchup, I totally agree with you. I think that Usman should be favored. However, 3-1, that's a 75% chance of winning. And I just don't agree with that. I think it should be much tighter than that. I favor Usman because similar to the Sandhagen versus Jan fight that we experienced last week, we got both guys throwing high volume. However, we got one guy that just throws and lands with more power. And Usman will have a 4-inch reach here. So I think that the rounds will be very, very competitive. However, I favor Usman to slightly edge them for the most part because of his power, because of his better technique with straight punches. But yeah, as you pointed out, Colby is very game. He's the second best fighter in this weight class. I should say second most proven fighter in this weight class. Of course, we've got Chimaev, who has just ran through everybody pretty much. But right now, Colby is Usman's toughest test. Certainly a tougher test than the previous opponents that he faced. Masvidal, Burns, no disrespect to those guys, but Colby is just brings a new bag of tricks to you.
Yeah, well, it's the cardio and the pace and the fact that Colby Covington always returns fire. And watching that first fight back, one thing I did notice was the fact that the reach played such a huge advantage to Kamaru Usman, because every time Usman would just miss a punch, Colby would automatically throw and it would just graze his face. And then Usman would counter with another straight right or another straight left. It's either the jab or the straight right or the straight left, depending on what stance Usman is in. He switches his stance quite often. So it's just such an intriguing fight. You have to give the edge to Usman, but I like this fight to go long. I don't see either one of these guys getting out of there. I think they go out on their shield. And one thing to note for everyone at home too, I'm just projecting a lot of strikes. Like I think both these guys are going to clear the 140 strike mark. And I think Usman is probably just going to land more because of his reach that I've noted. He also had a little bit of success using his kicks earlier in the first fight. So I'm sure that the camp will point that out. And these lines have moved wildly. And it's only Wednesday. So we've got a few more days before this goes down. But I'm comfortable with anything right around the 140, 150 range for either of these guys. That's really my comfort zone because, as I said, they bring out the worst in each other. They really will go out on their shield. Like Colby Covington had a broken jaw for the 4th and 5th round of that last fight and still fought for 8 minutes. That takes some kind of, like, that's a bad person. Like, that is a bad man. Love him or hate him, Donald Trump supporter or not, you got to just say it. Colby Covington's a bad man. You got to respect the guy's fight. Maybe not the way he sells himself, but definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, agree 100%. He is as game as they come. He will give his best effort. And yeah, don't sleep on Colby. He is a dog.
Yeah, no, I just think the 104 strike line is just too low for him. Moving on, though, we got another championship fight on this card. This is one of my favorite breakdowns the last time we talked about this, because everyone was like, oh, Weili Zhang's going to go right through Thug Rose. And I was like, no, she's not. Thug Rose first round knockout. I don't see that happening this time. I think that both of these ladies played their over for their Moors, pardon me, on Monkey Knife Fight. Thug Rose, I like her right around 110 strikes. Weili Zhang, like Weili Zhang is so good. And I think she's going to come with that power. I think she's going to be a little more tentative. Like, she ate a head kick and she hadn't lost since her, very first or second professional fight. First knockout loss. You're looking across the cage. Thug Rose has been through that adversity. We've seen her climb back to the mountaintop. I think that she is the best striker in the world I think she's the best 115-pound fighter in the world when her mind is right. And I think if her mind is right, and from what I've seen from the UFC embedded stuff, from what I've seen from just watching her, following her on social media, she seems like she's in a mentally healthy spot, and that's a scary Thug Rose. So I'm riding with Thug Rose in this fight. I like it to go long. I like these ladies to beat each other up, but I think Thug Rose has all the answers if it goes to the ground, and I think she's way better on the feet.
Okay, yeah, I think this rematch will kind of go similar to the dynamic with Jędrzejczyk, in that Rose got a quick finish the first time they fought, but then we saw the second fight to play out. It's all fine and good to assume that maybe she could get a knockout again. She did it the first time, but it's not something I'd count on. The fight is projected to go about 22 and a half minutes, and if we assume it goes there, we see the projection that I made is more for Rose and more for Zhang. 85 and a half significant strikes. I have Zhang projected way higher than that. Rose 103.5, slightly higher than that, but higher than that nonetheless. Yeah, it should be contested on the feet. I think Rose could have a lot of success early. She's very mobile. Like you said, she's technical. Her issues in the past have been because she is susceptible to low kicks, and she does slow down as the fight progresses. We saw that in the Jessica Andrade rematch. She lost round 3 on all 3 judges' scorecards. She slowed down against Jędrzejczyk. I could see Weili having success in rounds 4 and 5. I think the difference-making round will be in round 3. I think it's a very competitive fight. I slightly edge Zhang here. I think she gets the better of the later rounds. I trust her in an extended fight. I think they both train at great camps. Rose is working with Trevor Whitman, and as always, and Weili has now been moving over to Fight Ready with Henry Cejudo, Davison Figueiredo, the likes of many other talented fighters. I think this has all the makings of a great scrap.
Yeah, well, I mean, talking about Thug Rose's team, it's going to be a busy night for Coach Trev. Michael Gaethje, there you go. Justin Gaethje, Mike versus Michael Chandler, but he's got Justin Gaethje, Thug Rose, and Kamaru Usman all going. I mean, when you're trading with Justin Gaethje and Kamaru Usman, I trust your striking and I trust your wrestling. And as I said, I have a belief in Thug Rose that what I saw her do against Joanna Jędrzejczyk when she took the belt, when she believes in herself, I honestly don't think she's beatable. And I think she's got the better striking. And I think if those punches get through a Weili, like, she's going to slow down. She's going to feel that. She got knocked out by Rose before. So I can't pull myself to take Weili in a rematch when I think Rose is in a good place. It's that simple. But I respect the opinion as always, AJ, and it's always fun to go back and forth. But I think this next one is something that we can agree on. Justin Gaethje, said it right that time. Michael Chandler, said it right that time. Thank you. These guys are two of my favorite fighters. My first ever interview that I got with a pro UFC fighter was Justin Gaethje in Las Vegas. Guy gave me all the time of day. Love it. I love, Michael Chandler's connection. I love his adopted son, Hap. I love everything that he does for his community. Just two stand-up guys. But I think Chandler's head's going to go into orbit pretty quick here. I like the less and the less on Monkey Knife Fight. Michael Chandler's been knocked out in 2 of his last 3 fights. Charlie Olives doesn't have all that power. I'll say it. I don't believe in his power all that much. And then he got knocked out by a guy in Bellator that usually fights at 145. Justin Gaethje can eat a shot and he can give a shot. And he's won his last 5 wins have come by way of knockout. I like Justin Gaethje knockout win on Saturday night.
Yeah, I like the less and the less here. Fight is projected to go about 7.5 minutes. My projection for Gaethje based on that time frame is much lower than 96.5. And also for Chandler as well. He's at 45, much lower, but my projection is even lower than that. It should be a quick finish here. Like you alluded to, both guys are comfortable taking damage. Gaethje has the better chin, in my opinion. When he gets knocked out, it's like an accumulation. Whereas, as you mentioned with Chandler, it's just like he goes down easily sometimes. You hate to say it, but it's true. He's getting rocked in Bellator by guys that aren't even power punchers. Getting knocked out by Pitbull is one thing, but he's getting knocked down and rocked by grappling specialists. It's just, he's been in so many wars, and so has Gaethje, but his durability has just seemed to wear better at this point in their careers. Both guys have a tremendous amount of power. It's not like Chandler doesn't have a chance, but I think most likely Gaethje gets the knockout here because he's the better striker. I think he's the more technical striker. He sets up his power strikes, whereas Chandler just throws a lot of lunging overhand rights. I also think that Gaethje could have a lot of success with leg kicks. Chandler does stand heavy on his lead leg. And one thing with the Hooker fight was, I know Chandler ended up getting the knockout there, but it wasn't trending that well for him prior to then. He was taking a lot of damage from calf kicks. They seemed to affect him. I think in an extended fight, Hooker actually beats him. I trust Gaethje's chin. I think he probably gets it done. But again, got to respect the power of Chandler. He is an athletic threat. But I also trust the cardio of Gaethje too. So if this fight extends, I think that Gaethje's chances of this fight winning skyrocket.
Yeah, Gaethje's power, one thing about him is that knockout power doesn't go away either. Like early knockouts, late knockouts, he always looks tired after the 3rd round, but he's always going. His motor doesn't turn off. Michael Chandler, one of the most explosive guys. And just one thing I want to touch on about this fight is Michael Chandler is a great wrestler, D1 wrestler at Mizzou. And we saw Khabib literally have his way with Justin Gaethje on the mat. Like literally was going to, okay, you know what? I don't want to break your arm in front of your parents. I'm going to go and choke you instead. Like he made him look like a white belt on the mat. Does Michael Chandler try to wrestle? I think maybe that's an appropriate game plan. But if he ducks his head once, Justin Gaethje uppercut, that's how I see it ending. I think Michael Chandler, we saw something in Justin Gaethje that Khabib did to him. Also, it is Khabib Nurmagomedov, the Eagle, reigns supreme, fly above everybody else. We get it. But I think Justin Gaethje gets a knockout finish here when Chandler starts hunting the takedown. There's my prediction.
Yeah, Chandler he doesn't have the cardio like Khabib to go out there and persistently wrestle. Like when he beats guys with wrestling and top control, it's against guys that don't know how to scramble from bottom. Every time we've seen Gaethje taken down, he looks to get up right away. So I think that Chandler's path to victory with takedowns and controls out the window. He could submit Gaethje in a scramble, I guess. Gaethje doesn't show good defensive jiu-jitsu, but it just seems like a reach. Chandler and Gaethje, he has good takedown defense. I mean, yeah, he got taken down by Khabib, but who doesn't get taken down by Khabib, right? So there's levels to this. He stuffed takedowns from Poirier, from Alvarez. Both guys that were decent wrestlers. Chandler's a good, but not on Khabib's level. So I'm with you right there.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was something that just needed to be addressed, fans at home, because you hear the talk. It's just, I just don't see a path to Michael Chandler to victory through Justin Gaethje's power. That's really that simple. Moving on the card. Well, I guess that's a great lead in for the Knockout Kings. It doesn't get much better than that. Justin Gaethje knockout. AJ, you with me?
Absolutely. Yeah. Got to be Gaethje for the reasons that we mentioned. I think it sets up nicely for him to get a knockout.
Well, here's another guy on the card making his UFC debut. I noticed he's in your Knockout King contest, as he is in mine. It's Ian Garry, 7-0, finishing 5 out of his last 6 fights. I have zero faith in Jordan Williams, or Jordan Williams will go out and score a great knockout finish and then get knocked down by Mickey Gall. Like I don't get Jordan Williams, but I get the consistency of Ian Garry. I think for people that haven't seen him fight, should watch him on the regional scene. Former Cage Warrior champion. Guy's an awesome fighter. Watch some highlights before this weekend and get jacked up for this fight, because this is going to be a showcase, because Jordan Williams will stand and throw. So it will be fun to watch. But Ian Garry, first round KO in the bag. Please and thank you.
Yeah, I love it, man. Williams has been knocked out more than once in the past. And like you said, he's coming off of a fight with Mickey Gall where he got rocked early. He just doesn't defend strikes well, does Williams. 35% striking defense, absorbs over 5 significant strikes per minute. He absorbs a bunch of strikes to the head as well. And you don't want to do that against a guy like Garry, who's training out of Sanford MMA, a bright prospect, a good technical striker. He seems to carry some power, a very physical guy for the weight class. Yeah, I think he goes out here. It sets up nicely for him to get a knockout.
Yeah, one thing that I want to mention too is one thing that Jordan Williams has found success with is the fact he's so big and he's so long. Ian Garry's 6'3". Like, Ian Garry's bigger than Jordan Williams. So there's no path to victory that I see for Jordan Williams in this fight. Like, that one is one of the ones where I'm excited to watch. Sit back with a wobbly pop, text AJ and be like, this is going to be a knockout. Just watch. That's going to be my Saturday, folks. And then my third pick, separate from yours, give me Phil Hawes. I like Phil Hawes. He's got excellent KO power. I think he's got a wrestling advantage over Curtis. I like Hawes to get his paws on Curtis and drop him, or force him down and just hammer out a W. I did not mean for that to rhyme, but that sounded awesome. Clip it, Mr. Jason Rubin, and run it.
Yeah, Hawes putting some paws on him. I like it. Okay, so that's a good theme for the Knockout Kings, right? Because here's the thing, even though we differ, I think that makes total sense. I think you have a lot of options for the Knockout King. We mentioned some more obvious ones. My third one is going to be Alex Pereira, a world-class kickboxer, a guy that has 2 wins over Israel Adesanya in kickboxing, is facing Andreas Michailidis, who has been knocked out in all 4 of his losses. So I think it sets up very nicely for Pereira, who has a clear striking advantage, to go out there, get a knockout. 2 honorable mentions, just so it's out there. I think you mentioning Hawes makes a ton of sense, but also Ode Osborne against Carlos Vergara. Carlos Vergara officially hasn't been knocked out as a professional, but his most recent fight on the regionals prior to the Contender Series, he was rocked multiple times and almost knocked out early by a non-power puncher. Ode Osborne is a athletic and physical freak, very fast, hits hard. I think he could get a knockout. And not to bury the lead here on the main event, if you do like Kamaru Usman and you do think he is, could get another knockout here, could continue on his knockout streak, he is another option that you could throw in your Knockout King, considering he did it the first time, and he has a decent chance of doing so. So yeah, a few different options there, but my third one that I have the most confidence in is going to be Alex Pereira.
If I just may,
I'm just going to go out and say I 100% disagree with you on the Colby Covington thing. There's so many great options on this card. You just said it. Don't use Kamaru Usman. Covington, he's going to hang in there. Look, I just think Usman can get the knockout. We saw it happen last time. I think it's going to be a decision. I really think this fight's going to go all the way, and we're going to see Kamaru Usman's hand raised and still, and that's really going to be the end of it. But I like how long this fight is going to play out. One name that you touched on there, Ode Osborne. Yeah, that fight's going to be fireworks, and that's the very first fight of the night. That's going to be awesome. Alex Pereira. Is there no – so watching that, the Andreas fight, is there no fear of the takedown coming into play? I know he doesn't always rush for the takedown, but when you look at Pereira, you know, he was in MMA, then he took a break, went back to kickboxing. The ground game could be a potential weakness. I'm just thinking out loud from a mixed martial arts perspective, taking on a world-class kickboxer, right? Is there anything that you've noticed in there that might be like, well, it's either knockout or bust, or – I just think Pereira's the better striker, and that's that.
Yeah, I think, well, here's the thing with some data. Like, Michailidis went 15 minutes last fight, and he only attempted one takedown. And I think it's because, well, A, I don't think he's a great wrestler. But B, I don't think he has the cardio, similar to like we were talking about with Chandler, to go out there and just shoot takedown after takedown on Pereira. And Pereira's a huge guy. I mean, from what I've seen, I mean, I'm not ready to say he's an elite defensive wrestler, can't be taken down. But he does have good balance. He does spread a wide base. He does understand like sprawling and whizzering and utilizing underhooks, things like that. So, of course, there is threat of him being taken down. However, even if he does get taken down, I'm not totally sold that Michailidis could just, finish him there. That is really Michailidis' only path to victory, because on the feet, I think it's a total mismatch. Michailidis closes distance so poorly. He just swings so wildly. I think that leads to a countering opportunity for Pereira. And I think similar to his last knockout, he might do the same thing here.
If I may add, I'm not mad at both of you. I'm a little disappointed. Last time we did Knockout Kings, you laughed at me when New Jersey's own Jim Miller, I wanted to put him in my Knockout Kings. Laughed at. The data was not there. There was no analytics to back me up. Just pure intuition, instinct, and Jersey pride. And Jim Miller got a knockout. I am surprised that of all the Knockout Kings options, you have not even thought about throwing Toms River, New Jersey's own Frankie Edgar in there.
He's gonna get murdered.
You could take Marlon Vera.
No, but here. Like I said it before we came on air, it wasn't in the rundown, but that's just such an awesome fight. I was just gonna pick AJ's brain before we got out of here, and it just, man, oh man, what are your final thoughts on this card going into it? I just have to butt in before I throw it to you, because yeah, Marlon Vera, I think Frankie Edgar gets off to a good start, maybe gets a takedown, but Marlon Vera has never been finished. The guy's tough as nails. I think he's got the more powerful striking, and Frankie, we just saw him get starched out cold for the first time in his career. Frankie's he's over 40 years old. Hang him up, Frankie, please. I don't like seeing legends fall. It's hard. It hurts me.
So on paper, it's a matchup Frankie could win. He's the better boxer. He's got better footwork. He's a better wrestler. He's a better top control grappler. However, as you mentioned, he is far from his prime. He's 40 now. He doesn't take damage as well as he used to. And Vera is going to be longer. He's certainly closer to his prime, and he's going to be more durable. So when we see age gaps this wide, especially at the smaller weight classes, and that being 12 years, the younger fighter wins more often than not. That's just something that's in the stats, right? But yeah, I mean, Frankie, if he survives 15 minutes, I could see him winning a decision. It's just, I think most likely, even though Vera isn't the biggest puncher for the weight class, he is somewhat dangerous on the ground and on the feet. I think he probably does hurt Frankie along the way and probably gets a stoppage. It's unfortunate to say because he's had such a great career. However, he's not that competitive these years, 2-4 in his last 6 fights. In his 2 wins, a split decision win against Munoz, one people barely thought he won. And then the other one was against Cub Swanson, a fight he clearly won. But here's the thing. He fought Cub Swanson back in 2014 and was way more dominant then. So it was just a clear regression performance. Hate to say it. He's had a great career, but I think this could be it for Frankie.
Yeah, you're not the first guy that I've seen, talk about that, just from an analytics side, analysts breaking down this card. This really could be it for Frankie Edgar. Any final thoughts on this card before We break it down for you guys all on Twitter Spaces live on Saturday. AJ and I will be doing that right after the conclusion of the main event. We'll be coming to you live on Twitter, and we'll have some fun to break down our picks. And you guys can hold us accountable at home. We'll definitely be answering any and all questions, and we'll definitely have a good time. But AJ, any thoughts, final thoughts, anything you want to hype up, anything you want to shout out, anything that makes you go, I'm AJ MMA betting. Follow me right now because this is a hot take.
Well, no, I got to save the hot takes for somewhere else. But it's been a great podcast. You guys have been awesome supporting us. We're over 500 subscribers now. So please smash the like button. Try and get smash it just like Chimaev, right? We're trying to go to 1,000 now. We're trying to slowly work our way up to new milestones. As Connor said, please tune in for Twitter Spaces after the event. We love recapping the event. I'm sure you guys will be wide awake after the conclusion of the last fight, because who's going to sleep right after we see that go down? So excited I'm looking forward to that, and good luck to everybody on their contests.
Yeah, there could honestly be some rioting if Colby Covington wins. I'm not even underselling that. There really could be. That guy's such a clown. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, folks.
I actually wonder what the audience is going to be like at MSG. I was there for the Usman Covington, the first fight, which was at Madison. No, it wasn't. I was at the fight that Trump was at Madison Square Garden. That wasn't Usman versus Covington 1. It was
wasn't that the
fight.
BMF?
That was the yes, that was the BMF fight. Masvidal versus
the Diaz. Yeah.
And the reception was, if I'm doing this objectively, like 40% pro, like in favor of Trump being there, and 60% not. It wasn't this overwhelming reaction of like boos and stuff like that. So I'm actually curious what that reaction is at Madison Square Garden 2 years later. I don't know, 2 years later. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's it's definitely, it's going to be a great card in the most famous arena in the world, right? Like, that's really what Madison Square Garden has built it up itself up to be. It's seen Ali, it's seen Frazier, it saw McGregor win the 2 belts from a UFC. Thank you. Wow. Awesome. Guys, it's a great day. Oh, wow. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you guys so much for joining us on this version of Monkey Knife Fight Live, breaking down UFC 268. We'll see you back on Twitter Spaces on Saturday. Folks, I'm Connor Rowntree. That's AJ Schullo. Get on AJMMAbetting.com right now, and you'll have yourself an even better Saturday night. And remember, on Monkey Knife Fight, to hit it hard.